Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to another episode of RT Talk. As you can see if you're watching this, but you'll hear in a second, I am joined once again by Ms. Renee Smith for now. Not that I'm going to kick you off the show, but that's only going to be your name for a short amount of time. And then I, of course, am Michael Cool, and we are here to talk about things going on in the Rooster Teeth world, which this week, or these past 2 weeks, I should say, it's, there's been things to talk about, but there's two big things that have happened, so I figured that's just going to be the main focus of this episode, and then we will talk about just one additional thing that we talked about last week. But we're going to talk about, obviously, if you've been following, and if if you've been keeping up with the news, the Jeremy news, and why you clicked on this video, probably. We're going to talk about the fact that Warner Media is now merging with Disney. Yeah. Merging with Disney. They would just buy them outright. And then we're going to talk about the last AHWU. And I guess I don't even know what we're going to say about it, but it happened. So, but yeah, if you haven't been following or, paying attention to Twitter or Reddit or anything, or his Twitch streams, Jeremy announced and put out... we first saw it was a tweet that he put out, his little statement saying that basically, I guess I should even tack onto this additionally, because I've seen people who didn't even know this, that Jeremy moved back to Massachusetts back in, I want to say November, I believe is when it was.
I think it was the beginning of when they worked from home.
Oh, it wasn't that long. He was in Austin for a while, but I mean, I don't know, whenever it was, regardless, he moved back to Massachusetts during the pandemic. Yeah. That's really the only point that matters. Yeah. And I've seen people who did. They pop up on the subreddit, not every day, but it's been a frequent thing saying wait, is Jeremy not in Austin?
Yeah, I think that he only announced it really on maybe one of his streams. Because I know the reason that they moved back to Massachusetts, and I'm pretty sure that was on a stream.
I would imagine, because I don't remember, and we obviously could go back to the episode where we talked about it on here, mm-hmm. But I don't remember. I assume there's probably just like this announcement, it's probably a combination of tweets, mm-hmm. and he probably talked about on stream that's been mentioned, but yeah, there's definitely people who didn't know that he moved back. So yeah, Jerry moved back to Massachusetts during the pandemic, and Kat and him both have a lot of family, and they moved back to be closer to the family, especially during COVID, because if anything happened, then there's all the 2-week quarantine they had to go through and everything. It made it a lot easier on a personal level to go there. Current day, today, just 2 or 3 days ago, he put out a statement saying that Kat and he will not be moving back to Austin, and that they will be staying in Massachusetts, and that basically Jeremy is taking a step back from Achievement Hunter. Now, for the time being, and this is based on his statement and based on, he announced it on the, what is that, what do they do? The Chit Chat, or?
The Chit and Chat.
Is that what it's all called?
Yeah.
So it's one of their live stream shows that they do that I never see because I have a regular, essentially 9-to-5 job, basically. Mm-hmm. But he basically laid it out on there, and I've seen the clip. And if I can dig up the clip again, I'll include it so people can click on it and watch it. But it's a 5-minute clip from that where he talks about staying in Massachusetts and everything. And then, of course, he did a stream last night where as the time of recording this, where he did an hour-long just AMA, and there's a lot of questions that weren't related to it, but there was a few things that he was asked and kind of addressed in there. So that's sort of the realm of knowledge that I'm using to talk about this right now. But basically, he's taking a step back from Achievement Hunter. So up until they move back to the office, he's going to be basically the same. Nothing's really going to change until they actually go full-fledged back to the office for shooting content. And this is from, I guess don't want to say it's my interpretation, because he kind of said this, but I guess it's my confusion almost is more so just how the inner workings of how Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter works in terms of content creators, because it seems like at that point he's going to become or as he put it, a contract employee, the same way that he said Iffy, Kai, Chloe, who's been in stuff, Fiona is now, and then Gavin apparently is also a contract employee, which I did not realize. Which maybe it's just from, years of him just being in the office all the time. Maybe he's always been that, and I just didn't know. But it's more so me not knowing how the whole process works, is where my confusion comes from. I don't think his messaging has been confusing, but yeah. So basically, at that point, he's gonna fall into that category, and that he'll still be remote, and then he'll, be in whatever productions I guess he'll be in. But he had said on his stream that it's essentially going to open him up to focus more on his own streaming and to do like his music and writing and everything else that he does. So it's not just like it's not just like, oh, well, I'll only be remote and everything will be the same, other than the fact I just won't be in studio. It's legitimately him taking a step backwards and is going to be in less content. He did also say, though, that he is planning on, or he and Kat are already talking about, like, once they're back in the office and things are more accessible and open and I guess, like, safe, that they're already, like, planning their first, like, trip to Austin and seeing everybody. And he reiterated several times how everyone in Achievement Hunter, like, they are his best friends. So it's not like he's not... What are you doing over there? Just
everything.
It's not that he's, like, there's been, like, a falling out or there's any problem. Ignore the fact that Renee is just destroying everything in our small little area here and knocking lights over.
Everything I touch.
But, so it's not like there's, like, a falling out or, like, a rift or anything. That he was saying that these are his best friends and that he still wants to make content with them. And, someone even asked about, like, if there was a season 3 of Haunter, would he be in it? And he said if season 3 of Haunter happens and they ask him to be in it, he'll be in it. He talked about for RTX that he doesn't know if he'll be in Austin for RTX or if he'll be there, but, like, when things are back to normal, wants to, come in and, like, do signings and all that kind of stuff. So, and before we actually say, because that's sort of just, like, the information part of it, so I guess before we say anything about, like, opinion-wise or, like, kind of how, I guess, we feel, like, maybe not what this means, but just, I guess, how we feel like it's going to affect Achievement Hunter or just content in general, I probably should just start off with, like, a disclaimer saying, like, there might be certain things that we say, because I don't know what she's going to say. We haven't talked about this at all, but if there might be a time where we say a certain opinion where maybe someone is thinking that we disagree with his decision. So as just a general disclaimer, I think that everyone should just do exactly what they feel like should be done. This is a personal decision for him. I completely support whatever decision he wants to make. Any opinion we give is just going to come from the perspective of people who watch their content basically on a daily basis. So it has nothing to do with, like, disagreeing with his decision and think, he shouldn't have done it or whatever. That's 100% his call and something that only he can make that decision. Which also apparently this has been in the works for a long time. And I guess I'll start off by saying too that I did think it when they first said they were going back to Massachusetts to stay and be closer to family. On paper, I was like, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That especially during this time, there's so much uncertainty and, again, like, crossing state lines. A lot of times was like different quarantines and stuff that you had to take part in, and but on, like, a logistical level, I was like, well, how do you? Because I don't know what if they own their house or they rented their house. I don't know what their living situation is, and I shouldn't. But I didn't know if, like, how would they balance out having like, if they were planning on moving back, were they just going to keep 2 houses for, like, 4 months? Are they renting a house while paying for this? I was like, when I was thinking of it in those terms, I was like, that doesn't fully make sense. But I also have to acknowledge the fact I don't have all their information to know exactly what it is. So I kind of just went off, like, all right, well, they said they're going to move back when everything opens, so I just take them at their word, and obviously they have it figured out. But I was, like, from the get-go, that was something that was kind of like, how's that going to work? Like, I didn't really know, but I don't know. How do you feel about... Because when we first read the news, you were definitely affected.
I mean, I don't think Achievement Hunter will change. Because, I mean, there's been plenty of people who have left Achievement Hunter. And I feel like no matter who they've put in to not like replace whoever, but to like move on, I've always liked everybody that came through. I don't think, like, I think Achievement Hunter content's like...
Well, they haven't lost that many people.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll affect it that much. It's just because I enjoy everybody at Achievement Hunter. So, like, if Jeremy's, like, not in, like, a GTA, I'm not like, oh, well, eh. I'm like, because there's still plenty of funny people who make the video worth it. Like, I'm not just in it just for Jeremy. So, I mean, I completely, like, because it would be extremely hard for us to move that far away from our family, like, during a pandemic. And, like, if something were to happen to, like, my grandparents, we would have had to sit in a hotel for 2 weeks to get cleared.
Not even, because hotels were all closed.
Yeah. But, so, like, I understand the reasoning of doing that, and it would be extremely hard, because I moved 6 hours away from my family, and I think that's probably the most I've ever talked to my sister and my mom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I understand their decision, but, like, in terms of, like, the affecting... I do think there is going to be a... Maybe not so much now, because obviously, with everything being remote, but when you look at, like, the history of Achievement Hunter and stuff, especially in the time since Jeremy's joined, I don't know if it's possible for it not to be felt in certain ways. Because, like, someone even asked on his AMA saying, like, you know, well, who's going to, like, try to headbutt their way through the table, and who's going to, like, get the what was it, like, the color powder that they broke the bags over, and he's like, someone will step up in that role. He's like, if I wasn't there, someone else would have done it. And I was like, I understand that thing, because obviously Michael used to do a lot of that stuff, but he also said he kind of handed it off to Jeremy. Maybe he'll take the mantle back up of doing the crazy stuff, but there is certainly a hierarchy of who, like, Gavin, again, the history of Achievement, Gavin's usually the one that comes up with the ridiculous thing. Then for a while it was Michael would be the one who would, like, play it out or take his bet or whatever it was, and then Jeremy and Michael kind of filled that role at different times, and it's like, so everyone kind of has a lane. It's like, and if you think about all the stuff that Jeremy was involved in, it's like, I don't know that you could just say someone else would have kicked Gavin's table or his desk in half, which is, like, the most popular video they have. I don't know if they would have made the giant desk that he was elevated and sat up there for. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know if, like, you would get, like, there's obviously things that happen outside of that as well, but it's like, he is a pretty prominent member in a lot of really, really funny, really kind of iconic, like, I don't know, moments in Achievement Hunter history that I don't know I don't know if I feel confident that things won't be different without him in office. Like, in content, yeah, it's a lot easier because people are switching in and out all the time, but, like, the actual in-person stuff that they do, like, between the games and everything, I feel like that kind of stuff is going to be affected.
I feel like because Michael and Alfredo have, like, gotten closer, I don't know if it's just because of quarantine and they've been streaming together or what, but those two have been my favorite so far. Like, I still love, like, my play pal, like, love combo. But Alfredo and Michael together is probably my favorite, so I'm hoping, like, Alfredo and Michael cause the chaos that Jeremy and Michael did. Not, like, I can't see Alfredo throwing his head through a door or...
Oh, yeah, because Jeremy wasn't necessarily the chaos of it. He was just the person who was willing to do whatever it was for content, basically.
It would be kind of funny to see Matt do it, though.
I don't like... Look, I don't know Matt personally, but I'm just going to say I don't feel like that's likely. Just imagine Matt headbutting that table with the mask on. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like I said, Michael might kind of take that mantle back up because he did it for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's just... I don't know. It's hard to imagine, like, who is going to kind of step in to do the same kind of role that he filled in a lot of that stuff. But, like, it's not the end of the world type scenario. But it's to me, and I was thinking about this today, it's sort of just another thing that is kind of, I don't know, almost concerning, or kind of like, it's another negative that's happened, where it's like, this is another subtraction from this thing that I really enjoy. And it's like, after all the different people who got, let go or left or whatever you want to call it, and then all the recent it's like, I feel like we don't have a lot of positive stories happening. It feels like it's another kind of notch in the, God, it's like now he's going to be taking a step back, so he's going to be less content. It is worth mentioning, too, that he did say that once they're back in office and everything, it's sort of like, we'll see, and we'll kind of see what happens. So it doesn't seem as, like, definitive, like, this is it, like, I'm taking a step down, and that's it. And he even made a point on his AMA saying, like, like people have heard the prompts before, like, oh, don't worry, I'll still be in content, and then they're not in content. He said that's not going to be the case, but I just feel like it's worth mentioning that, yeah, he was saying we'll see. So, like, once things are up and running, it would be something that they would eventually move back to Austin. Because I'm sure, 2 years ago, who knows for sure, but I just guessing, 2 years ago, it's like he may not have been thinking about, we should move back to Massachusetts on such the level of, like, or I guess, like, seriously considering it, the level that they did this past year. So, I've been very optimistic in a lot of the big changes and basically trying to find, the, not like the rational, like, middle ground or whatever, but just trying to get, like, benefit of the doubt kind of position for a lot of stuff. And I always say, like, well, as fast as things can change in one direction, they can change in the other direction. So it's like, I've been saying that for a while, but it just feels like another loss. It feels like there's a real losing streak going on when it comes to people leaving and content changing. And then, now they're, we talked about they're up for sale, so who knows what that's going to come from. I hope it's a positive thing, but I don't know. It's just, when I was thinking about it today, I was like, man, there's something about this one that just, I don't know if it's like the straw that, like, broke the camel's back, but I just had a much more negative feeling about this, like, him taking even if it's a small step back, something about it just felt different for me. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Well, you were feeling a certain way, which you didn't really talk about.
I mean, like, I'm upset that he's, like, gonna be taking a step back.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, nothing can really change just how I feel.
Well, no, nothing's going to change it, but it's more so how do you feel, and, like, because you were talking about the content and how you don't feel like that's going to change much, and how Michael and Alfredo are your favorite, but...
I didn't say favorite.
Or whatever. That you really like them.
I didn't say favorite. I mean, Michael is my favorite, but that's besides the point. I mean, I am, like upset that, like, he will potentially not be in much content, but I'm also, like, well, I watch streams a lot, too, and that's, like, 6 hours of Jeremy.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's not, like, I don't feel like I'm going to be, like, deprived of him at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe the dynamic of the room will change. Because, like, if something is going right in the office, someone has to cause chaos, and normally that's Jeremy. I was like, I'm pretty sure, like, most of the time, like, when they're in the middle of just, like, between the games or something, it's Jeremy's, like, doing something.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, and it's... Yeah, because, like, you were talking about for watching on stream and stuff, like, there is something that I feel like is added to in edited content that you don't necessarily get in the, like, streaming stuff. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that sort of, avenue of content will just be fulfilled by, like, the amount of videos he still will be in, basically. Yeah. So that's it's like he's obviously, especially since he'll be streaming more. I think the only downside is that, like, they have that policy or whatever that they can only have so many Achievement Hunter members stream together at the same time, and after it's like 3 or 4 or something after that amount.
It's 4,
it's
and
like,
then I think 5 is when it becomes like Achievement Hunter.
Yeah, it's like it's considered Achievement Hunter content, so they're not allowed to.
Yeah, Alfredo said it in like one of his earlier streams that I started.
Oh, he's mentioned it a bunch.
Yeah, I was like, I cannot remember though.
Because every time they play like Among Us and stuff, people are always like, "Oh, get Michael. Oh, get Jerry." Like, he's like, "We can't have that many people."
Yeah.
It becomes a Achievement Hunter content. But
I mean, like, content will change. Like, in the room stuff will change, but I think like until it happens, it won't like fully set in for me. That like, oh, Jeremy's like missing in these videos, or like if they do, like I feel like if they do like you did next year, I'm hoping Jeremy would be in it.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, I mean they brought Jeff back for this one.
Yeah, it's like
I guess Gavin, but
well, like I said, this felt different to me, and it does feel like, I don't know, it had a much more negative impact on me, but I'm still like, I'm always hopeful. I'm always hopeful that things will kind of, may not get back to the way they were, but, you know, will improve, or, you know, it's like, and I honestly, I was thinking about it too, because like he was saying how they were expanding this sort of like cast of characters that can kind of just slot into when someone's missing, and I was like, I don't know that I like that over a concrete cast. I don't know that, like, I know I was talking about a couple weeks ago how I liked how they had, like, these, you know, like, Blaine and John Reisinger and, you know, Chris, and, like, everyone was sort of had this role where, like, if someone was missing, that they would step in. But this is a little different because this isn't, like, when someone's missing. This is kind of, would be this along the same lines as, like, now, you know, X, Y, and Z are gone, and now it is these people that step up. So it's like, I don't know that I prefer having a much larger group that is constantly rotating through as much as I like a set group that then they have the people like Kai and Chloe and Iffy and everything else that when that core group can't be there, that they kind of step in. It's like, I think it's important to have those people, but I don't know if I want to see like that, them continue in that direction where Achievement Hunter is like, you know, 15, 20 people that could at any point be a combination. Like, I just feel like that's sort of, it doesn't ruin it obviously, but it changes a lot of the dynamic of what I think of, or like I know of Achievement Hunter to be, because then it's like every video is kind of like a roll of the dice of like who's in there, and you're trying to, like, you can't really get used to someone as much because they're not in as much content, so like when they're in it, you're not really like enticed to watch it as much, or at least, you know, from my perspective, it's, I
mean, they might like do like for a few weeks, like maybe Kai will be in something, and then a few weeks like Iffy might be in something, and then Jeremy, so it might be like 2 or 3 weeks worth of content with just Jeremy or Kai.
I mean, yeah, there's ways they could kind of roll it out. It's just, I don't know, it's like I think I like, for me, I get like not attached to like I don't know, I feel like the word attached has like a connotation to it that like I feel like I'm like friends with like whoever it is, but when it comes to certain groups of people, it's like I get attached to that group and that group dynamic. So like whenever things are changed, like it's not something like, it's not just like a switch is flipped. It's like, oh, a new person. It's like it takes me a while to like learn their mannerisms, and like even Alfredo, I feel like I liked Alfredo. I didn't have any problems with Alfredo for a long time, but then he kind of like, it was almost, well, he was like an editor or like a part-time editor. I forget what his exact...
He did live streams.
Well, he did live stream, but he was in editing too, because that was... I remember we did the episode where he wasn't going to be editing, I don't know if it was any more or very little, and he was going to be in much more content. And it's like, somewhere around there, he was just like, oh, this is what you have to do. And he just, like, he hit the ground running, basically, and he just got ridiculous. Yeah. And now, it's like, anything with Alfredo in it, it's like I almost immediately enjoy. So... it's just like, it's not that I dislike people, because obviously like it happened with Fiona when she came in, so many people just went after her immediately. It's like, I don't dislike people right out of the gate, but it's like I'm kind of just neutral. Like they're kind of take it or leave it for me until I kind of learn a lot about them. And I guess it's just, I like it, the idea in theory, and having this like alternative cast that you can sub in basically when need be. I don't know if I want like, I don't know if when I think of Achievement Hunter, I don't think of, like, this huge roster. So, it's like they've expanded that quite a bit in the last, you know, couple months.
Yeah,
so.
But they're still, like, just, like, compared to, like, Rooster Teeth, like who on the podcast there's like how many different combinations of people. Achievement Hunter has like the group of like 10 people.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. Because the Rooster Teeth podcast, like, when you listen, like, if you think of any of your podcasts that you listen to, you're not necessarily, like, you're kind of there for the content in some regard, but you're there for the people that are on the podcast. And that's why I think because I honestly, I've fallen off from listening to the RT podcast. I mean, I don't even know the last episode I listened to, because the group of people that I listened, like, the RT podcast was not the title, it was the people who made up the podcast. So when those people aren't there, you're kind of just left with a title and people you don't really know that well. So it's like I don't have that sort of desire to go listen and hear, you know, the stories or whatever it is. So like, you know, like just a couple weeks ago, like the one that I actually, it's funny, I still haven't listened to it, but there was the one that was Gus, Jeff, Barbara, and Gavin, and I was like, that to me, that's like when I got like fell in love with the RT podcast, that was basically the cast that was on there. So I was like, I downloaded it. I was like, immediately. I just haven't listened to it yet because I'm way behind on all my podcasts. But I got really into music this week for some reason. I listened to it all day long, which I haven't done in a really long time. But
I can't listen to anything.
Yeah, well, you have a better job now though. But it's like, so I just think if it goes in the same direction like the RT podcast has, or you know, is at now, it's like I just don't know that I look forward to that kind of dynamic. I don't know I don't know if I'm on board for that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's one of those things like you have to see when it actually happens.
Yeah, I'm trying not to like imagine scenarios of it like happening, or like Achievement Hunter not being like good. I'm just kind of waiting to see what exactly it will look like when it happens. Yeah,
I'm not necessarily predicting or trying to predict like failure or anything. Yeah. It's just more so. It's more so like these are things that like I think about all the time when it comes to like, especially when it comes to like big changes. But like I said, there was something about this one that hit me differently, and I think I'm always hesitant to kind of talk about more of my like preservations or like concerns and stuff, because I feel like when you see a video on YouTube that is, you know, Jeremy Dooley, whatever the title is, it's almost always going to take up like a negative angle, and it's there to like to sort of just hammer Rooster Teeth. And it's like I kind of understand the certain like the point of view that some of those people are coming from, but it's like I also don't want to add on to that. Like I don't want to be part of that narrative either. I was like, but there are things that come out that do kind of like concern me, or it's like I hope like this thing doesn't continue to happen, because I'm not really feeling that. And if it continues on that road, that means this thing that I really enjoy and love is not going to be the same thing anymore, and I'm probably going to drift away from it, which I don't want to do. So it's like I'm always hesitant to kind of talk about things that I'm like concerned about or skeptical of, just because I just don't want to be like be another log on that fire, basically. But I don't know. It just maybe because Jeremy's just been such a solid like pillar of Achievement Hunter. And after Achievement Hunter has been kind of rocked already this year, or you know, not necessarily this year, but in the past calendar like 12 months year, it's just I don't know. Things just feel so like they don't feel so secure like they did once. It's like everything feels kind of like it feels like at any point. Like, there was a time where if someone announced they were leaving, I would be blown away. Now it doesn't feel like that. It feels like at any point Gavin could just say, I'm not going to be back. Michael could go, I'm done with it. Like, none of that stuff would be, like, that big of a shock. I would be affected by it, but it wouldn't be a shock to me anymore. Things just don't feel as stable and secure like they used to. But, I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts on it? The Jeremy leaving? Or not leaving, but...
just going to part-time.
Yeah, so however it's going to be... kind of work out.
No.
How about this? Say what you hope is going to happen.
I mean, I hope that like he'll still be in like a decent amount of content, like for the stuff that doesn't need face cams. Like he could be in that stuff, like GTA's.
We'd still be in face cams. It would just be in a different location.
But, like, I hope it doesn't change, like, too much where, like, he's not in anything. Like, I still want at least, like, 1 or 2 videos a week where he'd still be in it, like TTTs or, like, Minecrafts, like the core videos we watch at least. Because we don't watch all of them, but because there's certain gameplays I don't care for.
I say for Achievement Hunter, I think I watch almost everything. There's only a couple things that I don't watch. I think for me, my hope is that they'll live up there, they'll go back to the office, he'll be working remotely for a while, and then eventually they'll come back in and he'll be, like, kind of refolded into being, like, full-time. I don't know what the percentage I would say is, like, that being likely, because especially if he's focusing much more on his own independent stuff, like writing music and writing, like, his books and everything, and his own streaming. I feel like that's way more it's more personally rewarding, it's more, financially rewarding. It's like there's a lot more, like, bonuses to that, and I think that, again, like I prefaced it, but if that's the best thing for him, that's what he should do. Like, I don't want it to, again, come off as, like, criticizing his decision to make this for their lives, but it's just but my hope is that there won't be much change. I think my only, like, reservations about it are when he talks about, like, people like Fiona and Iffy, and, like, when he went through the list of people who are, like, also contract employees, like, he said, like, Iffy has, like, a lot of other stuff going on, but it's like, well, that basically means that you also could fall prey to that exact same thing, and that you'll be in less. So, like, I just think of those people. It's like, obviously Fiona has a full-time, I assume, whatever, her G4 gig, so it's like that's gonna take up time. Iffy has all this stuff going on, Gavin, all his slow-mo guys and everything else that he does.
Well, the way that I am trying to look at it is normally him and Kat stream together. So, I mean, I don't know if Kat's leaving her job to go full-time streaming or whatnot.
I don't think so. Well, I mean...
I was just like, I don't know. She hasn't tweeted anything. She hasn't put anything anywhere.
I said, the only thing I can say based on that is that in this, like, announcement stuff, Jeremy wasn't saying anything about, like, Kat, it was always just about, like, the Achievement Hunter and him staying in Massachusetts. Yeah. But I don't know what her work situation is when they left Austin. Yeah. Like, I have no idea. I know she travels a lot.
She got a new job whenever she moved to when they moved back to Massachusetts.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
But I'm just hoping that if they stream together, it's normally going to be at night, like after Kat's done working. And Jeremy will still have time during the daytime to, like, make Achievement Hunter content. And then, like, because streamers don't stream, like, 7 days a week.
Well, some of them do.
Yeah. The ones that I watch or know of don't stream that often. Like, they stream, like, at least 4 times a week. But it's normally for, like, 7 hours.
Yeah, I don't think he'll stream that. I mean, but he said he wanted to get his, like... It was, like, basically streaming / YouTube. Yeah. So it's like there's the editing aspect of getting your... Because he was even saying about how he was uploading the YouTube... like, the recording of his Twitch stream the day after on YouTube. And now it's probably 2 days after because of just that turnaround period is not... Yeah. It's not a lot.
But I'm hoping, like, that stuff... Like... I don't know, like... He'll still be in a bunch of Achievement Hunter content, so it'll be, like, not every single video he's in, because I feel like he's almost in every single video.
He's in a lot of them.
Yeah. But, like, maybe instead of, like, 5 days a week, they have a video out, he's in 3 of them instead of 5.
Which, I mean, is probably going to be the case now, until they actually go back in the office, which is, like, they're kind of creeping more and more, like, or getting, like, closer and closer to that, but... Obviously, it's still a little ways out. But, yeah, it's like, he needs to do what's best for him. Yeah. Absolutely. Before anything else. Before any of whatever my feelings are on it. But...
I mean, I get why they moved back because, I mean, it was extremely hard for me to be away from my family. Yeah. And I don't even like my family.
Well... So. Well, I think he said him and Kat both have 30 cousins.
Yeah, they have big families.
Each. So they have, like, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and they're close to their family. So, because, I mean, I think I think it was Kat who maybe said it, but they do like family dinners. Like they do fatter day, I think is what Jeremy called it, where Jeremy and his dad have like their cheat day on Saturday, and they do that as a family.
Yeah.
So they're extremely close. So I mean, like, I get why you want to move like back home. So I don't think that they're gonna move back to Austin.
Like I said, if it does happen, I don't predict it would happen anytime soon. I mean, he said he just said like we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I think that I think it's gonna be a little while. If they do, it's not gonna happen like in August. Like I think it's gonna be some time before they do. But yeah, ultimately they have to do what's best for them before anything else. And it's just, I think it's just, for me, I think my whole, I don't know if anyone's listening who thinks it came off as like really negative, but my whole thing just comes from a place of this thing that I really like is being shaken, and it's being shaken a lot at different times. And it's like, we're kind of just getting an additional thing that has happened again.
I just feel like if like all the bad shit that happened this past year wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't be like a weird thing to process.
It would be more, I think it'd be more shocking. I mean, not shocking, that's not the right word, but I think it'd have a lot more impact. Like, I'd be like, oh, Jeremy's kind of like stepping away from, because like we even talked about like I forget when it was, but we have, where Jeremy was talking about his mental health was kind of in shambles, and he was talking about moving like maybe more behind the scenes. And then he kind of got all that stuff together, and then he, it's at least the public facing, it would seem like things are okay, but it would still be like, it would be a much bigger thing, kind of like when the first announcements of people leaving happened, and I think it would have been closer to that, but now it's just like, man, we can't go 2 or 3 months without someone leaving, a controversy, someone being fired, this thing being canceled, then being, like, there's always, it just seems like there's a lot of L's that are coming up. Things that are, it's positive for him and Kat and their personal lives. Big positive for both of them. But just for the entity, at least for me, it's like, oh, that's a subtraction. And so like it's sort of a concern. Obviously, I'm not going to stop watching. I'm going to remain hopeful, and I'm not going to sit there every video and like be like the people who leave comments and just it was better when Jeremy was here, like they do for, I can't believe people still say it for Ray. It's been so long. I don't know. There's so many comments that we got ourselves about how they went to shit after Ray left. And I was like, it's just so absurd. It's just like, I understand liking someone and them not being there is obviously impacting me. That's basically what we've just been talking about for the last 40 minutes. We've been recording for a while. But it's like, that's basically what we're talking about. It's like the impact of someone not being there. But then it's like if I stopped watching after this news and then just started commenting that everything went to shit after Jeremy left. It's like, you probably haven't seen anything since Ray left. It's just like, I don't know. It just blows me away how often that still comes up when Ray left in like 2014.
Yeah, it's just
fucking, I don't know what year it was.
I mean, I think I only watched Ray in a few videos before he left, so I was not affected by it at all. But it did take me time to get used to Jeremy and Matt. Yeah. It definitely did. Yeah.
Well, Matt, I feel like, didn't even really come to his own skin and content until like this last year.
Yeah.
It took him a while, I feel like.
Yeah, because, I mean, there was a while where like even Jack annoyed me in videos, and he's made me laugh in almost every single video.
Yeah, it took him a long time to, I feel like, get his persona in videos. Because, I don't know, he was usually the person that would get like actually upset, or, he would be the one who would just stop playing, and then he'd go, that's where like he was gonna go build a house came from, because he would just be like, he's like pouting and stuff. Yeah. But which still led to like funny moments, but for the most part, Jack was not, I feel like he wasn't really like a content, or he wasn't like in content mode, I guess. He was kind of playing the games as if he was playing at home. Yeah. And so like he was getting like annoyed whenever Gavin would just burn his house down or something, whatever it was.
Yeah, but yeah, it takes me a little bit. I think the only one that I liked 100% from the beginning is Michael.
I'm trying to think. I think I liked Gavin out of the gate. I think so. Like, because my journey to get to watching Achievement Hunter was through like Fails of the Week and Horse, which was Jack and Jeff. At that time, I liked Jack, and like more than Jeff. And at some point, that flipped, and I started liking. I think probably because I was listening to the podcast, and Jeff was on the podcast all the time. Jack was too, but all they just would fucking hammer him the whole time he was on there. But then that kind of flipped, and then it was like watching Achievement Hunter content that had, Michael in it. But I knew Gavin from when they would talk about him on the podcast, and then he was in some of the early episodes, and then he was obviously a target as well that they would always go after and make fun of, but he would roll with it, and he was just ridiculous. So it's like, I think, from what I remember, I don't remember there a point like that I was kind of like, oh, Gavin's on it, or, felt indifferent.
Yeah, I was never like, oh, this person's on it. I just watched it. Because I watched Achievement Hunter before, I watched anything Rooster Teeth related.
Yeah, I watched Achievement Hunter, and then I knew what Rooster Teeth was from Red vs. Blue. Mm-hmm. Didn't realize Achievement Hunter was the people from Red vs. Blue for a while. Then I actually went to see like Rooster Teeth was doing. Then I found the podcast, and then the podcast is really where everything caught fire for me. But yeah, now it's like it's primarily Achievement Hunter is what what brings me back to everything. It's all through Achievement Hunter, basically.
Achievement Hunter is why we're getting married.
What?
We talked more about Achievement Hunter and Funhouse than we did about Rooster Teeth. Whenever we first met.
Did we talk about it a lot when we first met and were dating and everything?
I think so. Like we had.
I know we watched stuff.
We had conversations like.
It's fine because I remember your profile mentioned Rooster Teeth, which is one of the reasons that I got brave enough to send you a message. But I just I don't really I can't remember anything other than when I talked about when I was like when we were talking about Rooster Teeth in the very early days before we were actually like a couple, and I was just talking about how actually meeting Bernie at RTX and everything.
You were bragging.
I wasn't bragging. I thought it was cool. I'm sorry. I thought it was an awesome thing.
You were bragging.
To me, bragging is I want you to be impressed by it.
That's what you were doing.
It wasn't. I just thought it was a cool thing.
Okay. I interpret it differently. I'm sorry.
Women.
You're a piece of shit.
Are we fighting on the podcast? What's happening?
No.
It came out of nowhere.
Hi, Joe, baby.
She's talking to the dog now. But we're fucking so out of. You just call me a piece of shit out of nowhere. We're so off track.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't know what's happening.
Keep it in though.
I'm not. I'm gonna cut all this out. I'm gonna cut this down to 10 minutes, and it's only gonna be me talking.
You're just gonna blur me.
No, I'll just crop you straight out of it, and then it'll just be me talking to no one.
Okay, have fun with your long hours.
I'll put a picture of Doug over your face.
Okay.
That's what it'll be. But getting back on track, yeah, I'm. Of course.
I didn't do that.
Trying to get back on track, and the light falls again, or my paper towel, my diffuser, because I don't have my diffusers. This is a fucking mess. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try to remain hopeful. Jeremy's leaving. I'm fucking derailed completely. Let's just move on because I can't. I'm completely fucked up now. So we'll move on to. I don't even know what to even necessarily say about it, but the whole thing about Warner Media and Discovery being merged together now. Warner Media is obviously the company that owns Rooster Teeth, so AT&T owns Warner Media, and they're merging I think it's two of their assets together. Because Warner Media, as far as I understand, like just from the little bit that I read from the articles, is Warner Media. Obviously, it's like that's who does like HBO Max and all that stuff. But they had a big focus on like digital like streaming content, like obviously like with HBO Max, and it's one of the reasons why like Rooster Teeth was kind of purchased and brought in, as well as like a lot of other like companies and assets that they own. But yeah, they're being merged with Discovery, and Discovery has like Discovery Plus, and apparently Discovery includes like TLC and Animal Planet and like all kinds of stuff.
Because I wanted to get it for the ID channel.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying like that. It's not just like the Discovery Channel because 'cause I didn't realize this, so I assume not everyone knows this too. That it's that under the Discovery umbrella is like all of these really specific channels. Because I think it's like the HDTV, DIY. You said the ID channel. I think it's TLC is in there as well. Obviously Discovery. I think maybe Nat Geo as well. Animal Planet. Like there was a lot of things that fall under the Discovery umbrella. So Warner Media is being combined with them, and I'll include an article for in like our description. So if you were interested, you could read through it, just talking about like some of the details. But I think I don't the kind of the details of the merger and everything aren't necessarily important for like affecting Rooster Teeth, but I think it adds some context why they're like we're trying to be sold and are there. It's like some people like that have commented on our episode from when we talked about them being sold. We're like talking about like how it's obviously they're trying to manage their assets and they're trying to spin off. I mean, or not spin off, but trying to get their main assets and the actual big projects and moneymakers. They're trying to get all that stuff to be like kind of rolling and profitable compared to stuff that maybe isn't as profitable or isn't maybe in their long-term plans. Like they're trying to manage everything that they own, and it's like if they're also being merged and there's this much bigger play at hand, it makes sense that they would look at both companies and say like what works and kind of what doesn't, or what do we want to keep, and then kind of just consolidate everything that each of them has, so that when they merge together that it's a more streamlined product basically. So makes sense that they would, Rooster Teeth would kind of fall into that umbrella because, or in that category. It's like Rooster Teeth doesn't really, it's like compared to everything else that they have, because I want to say, Warner Media owned Crunchyroll too, and then they sold that to Sony, I want to say. Maybe, I forget who it was. But, they don't really fall, when you think of like, HBO and like DC, that kind of stuff, and then Discovery, there's not a lot of middle ground between those two things, other than the fact that if they could put all those shows like on HBO Max or combine those somehow. But when you think about like what Rooster Teeth does, like it is a little out of sorts in that like the stuff that they own, and especially with the pandemic and stuff and their revenue numbers and everything else that comes into play. So I don't know, it just adds more context to the sale and why it may be happening. So again, it remains to be seen how that'll happen, and if they'll be sold. I know it's not going to happen. I would personally love if they went independent again and didn't have a kind of company that had like essentially like an overlord who can kind of make decisions for everything. I know it's not going to happen, but I feel like some of the it may not the best content that was ever made, but I don't know. There's something that felt different about those independent years that is not there anymore. I think it's a little bit of like, I think it was like one of our very first episodes. I was saying like once the like a lot of the founders left, and and like the turn it will take from feeling like this small company where you who the CEO is, and like it's Matt and it's Bernie and it's Gus and it's Jeff. It's it's like when you go through and like all the people, and then they'll make that turn to where Rooster Teeth is a company as opposed to Rooster Teeth is the people inside the company. And I feel like we're definitely at that point now where it has made that turn where like there is so many people in higher up decision making positions that like no one knows. Like that's a much more company way to exist than it did before. So I there was a lot of I almost have like there's like a lot of nostalgia for like that era of when they were independent, or like at least in the early of like full screen when they were purchased, but it wasn't like, I don't know, when it's Warner Media it feels very different than full screen. Like Warner is like AT&T bought Time Warner and made it Warner Media. It's like that's a much different company than say like full screen whenever they're being, I mean I guess technically they're owned by Otter Media, I think, which is owned by Warner Media, the whole business chain that goes all the way up to like Jesus, basically. It's like everyone's owned by two companies. But yes, I am still hopeful, and I hope that eventually we'll kind of hit the bottom of like this kind of bad news after bad news, and then we'll start to see the climb again. And my hope is that it'll happen once they do go back in the office and they can start making content in person and things can get crazy again, especially since everyone's been kind of stuck in their house mostly for a year.
Yeah.
I hope there's crazy productions that come out of it, and then Rooster Teeth just takes off again. Because 2020 has been a down year for a lot of people, but I think it's definitely been a down year. I mean, 2019 and 2020 were real blows to the company, and I want to see them succeed and really take off again. Yeah. Or at least just stabilize and not have some terrible news every 2-3 months, whatever it is. That'd be nice, and that's my hope for it. But keeping with this theme of maybe not negative, but in a way it is that. But the last AHWU aired, and we watched it, and I thought there was a lot of interesting points that they talked, because the last episode of AHWU was just Jack and Jeff, and they were just going on about kind of why AHWU ended, some of their favorite moments. It was a long episode too. I
think it was about 40 minutes.
Something like that. It was a pretty lengthy one, but I did think it was interesting that Jeff was saying how AHWU was a show that never got like a lot of views, and it wasn't getting canceled because of views. Because when you're dealing with a show that's a weekly update, it doesn't exactly have discoverability in the same way that, say, like Jeremy kicking through his desk, or like it's become like a meme now. Whenever Jeff was carving the bottom of Jack's, or no, he was carving the top of it, because he was like, I think that's whenever he said
Where's the bottom?
Well, he did the bottom, but I thought he was carving the top whenever Trevor said, "Isn't this the desk that Jack built?" It's irrelevant, but it's still, Jack is stabbing a desk that allegedly, possibly, Jack built with his dad. But it's become a meme now, and of Jeff like looking up at him right after he says it. But it's like I forget even what I was talking about, because I got so focused on that video. I'm just remembering that moment. What was I talking about? Oh, AHWU.
Yeah.
So like those moments, like those obviously have a lot of discoverability well after the fact. Point being, the meme that is happening now, even though that video came out years ago.
Yeah.
And AHWU is not something that you wouldn't today sit down to watch, AHWU from January 15th of 2018. Like, you more than likely wouldn't do that unless there's a moment like Jack getting hit in the throat in it. More likely than not, it's not something that like a lot of people would go back to watch. So that was sort of like, the views were not like an issue for why it was being like I don't know if canceled is the right word, but it came to an end.
Yeah, I was like, it just kind of came to an end. Didn't get canceled. They just aren't producing it anymore.
Yeah. And then they also said too, like, how a lot of the stuff that they did on AHWU will be rolled into the streams. Like, they want to have a unboxing stream basically for things that were sent in, and they also want to do different stuff. Like, there'll still be the like chit and chat or whatever. They'll be talking about like things that'll be coming out, so like that stuff won't change. I mean, yeah, like the announcement stuff was definitely helpful at times, but like that going away isn't like the biggest blow, because like they even said on there that like they have social media and different ways to announce things, so that's not like the biggest thing. The unboxing stuff is a little bit different, like, because that's what, like, again, like Jack getting hit in the throat happened when they were like opening. There was a lot of funny moments with them opening stuff and reading stuff and doing, what was it called when they did it was like roulette, where they had the I can't think of the word. They had like the anime porn, the book, and they would do like, they would just open it to see if there was nudity on it and stuff like just goofy things that came out of them doing that. But
they said that they are going to do unboxing streams, so I'm assuming it'll kind of be like that, just it'll be streamed, so you'll have to just find the, like...
I think my only, like, I think negative with that is I think there's a lot of funny stuff that comes out of the editing when they're opening stuff, as opposed to them just like sitting there watching a 30-minute thing of them opening boxes and go, what's in here? Oh, someone sent us this thing, or whatever. I think there's a lot of it that comes out of the editing. A lot of value is added in the editing. and plus with like, I understand streaming is a huge thing right now, and that like they go into it. I think my only like, I can't want to say concern, but that's not the right word. But it's like the only thing I guess I don't really like about the streaming is it happens, like I said, when we're at work.
Yeah.
So any of the streaming stuff I can't watch.
Yeah, we can't watch it live. We have to wait for the next day for the is it called a VOD?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or well, some people call it that.
I don't know what it's called, and I was like, I'm gonna call it something stupid, and I'm gonna be dumb.
A video on demand.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You piece of shit. But that's the only, like, for streaming, that's the only thing that's like, I guess like a problem for us is that we can't watch it like when it's happening. Yeah. So it's, we can go if we remember to go back, but then also with streaming is if you're working, full-time jobs like we are, and they're streaming like 6 hours every 3 days, like it's not impossible, but that'd be like the only thing we would do to actually get caught up and watch all the streams.
Yeah, and because like we couldn't even watch certain things, like because sometimes I have like an hour lunch, so I couldn't even be like, oh, I'm gonna watch like an hour of Jeremy's stream. It's because we don't watch things without each other.
Oh yeah, I mean I did watch The Chumped. So,
what?
I'm kidding. I knew you'd be upset.
I'm so fucking pissed.
The takeout crew on Chumped is we've been waiting for because
it's like those are all my favorite people.
It is such a good combination of individuals because Jackie is completely insane.
Yeah.
She loses her mind, flies off the handle, doesn't understand what's happening, yells at people for trying to correct her. Mm-hmm. She is an absolute wild card in the truest sense. Alfredo and Michael are the literal devil, and it's one of them is the legs and one of them is the torso, and all they do is basically torture Jackie, and Meg plays for both teams. She can be Jackie and fly out the handle and get like irate, which is one of the best moments in the takeout crew history, which is when Meg told them that the wall's lowered in Fall Guys, and then Jackie came in, and then she's like, "Oh, Jackie, the wall's lowered," and it's like, "No, they don't," and immediately Michael and Alfredo jumped on it and go, "Yeah, she tried to get us with that one too," and Jackie was like, "Yeah, I knew that wasn't real," and Meg lost her shit because she was like, "It is real," and she's like, "Okay, Meg."
For like 20 minutes, I think that Meg was like, "I'm telling the truth."
Oh, it was way longer. Then Michael was like in her chat telling people that like
Michael got banned.
Yeah, and it was such a great moment in their history. But then Meg can also jump on their side and join in on basically, I guess, ragging on Jackie or making her believe something.
Yeah.
And then Jackie just is unfazed. It's like she has blinders on, and like she's not unfazed in the fact that she won't get riled up, but she's unfazed in the sense like they can all three be like kind of making fun of her or doing whatever, and she just keeps plowing right ahead and just keeps doing exactly what she's doing.
And then whenever they stream with Jeremy also joins in with Michael and Alfredo.
At times, yes. He will kind of go in, but yeah. So we've been waiting to watch the Takeout Crew Chump.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, it's just a perfect example of us watching stuff together, because, it's. I mean, when you live together, it's like if I watch it and then you come home and then like, well, I have to watch it again. Like even just on a personal level, it's inconvenient to be like, oh, now we have to watch this, especially for some of these like an hour. I think the Chump is like 55 minutes long.
Probably.
It's pretty long, so like to have one of us watch it again, it's like, well, that's just kind of inconvenient and not really the best use of our time anyway.
Yeah, like the weekend is like the days where we're like we have nothing to watch because we've watched the stuff throughout the week, or if we're home, we try and watch Alfredo's live stream.
Or watch the Among Us stream on Saturdays. So it's like basically from like 6 o'clock until like 10.
Yeah,
we're fine, or like 9. I don't remember I don't remember what the actual times are.
But like, Sunday when we go to sit down to eat dinner, we're like, well, what are we gonna watch? And
sometimes they're doing like their month video, like they're doing such and such month for Achievement Hunter. I'm like, oh, they uploaded this, whatever. I can't even remember. Like they've been playing like Resident Evil, or well, Michael has been playing Resident Evil with Matt and Lindsay watching, but they, depending on what the month is, may not have something that is like that we want to like watch.
Yeah.
Or at least watch together. Like maybe something I'm interested in, but you don't necessarily want to. But yeah. Either way, we have to wait for each other.
Or else we get mad at each other and then we'll never get married.
Are you threatening me?
Yeah, if you watch Chump Without Me, I'll never fucking marry you.
You already said yes. It's too late. Well, that's going to do it for this one. We're at, like, just about an hour. So, I knew there was a lot to kind of talk about the Jeremy thing, but I was like, this will probably be like a shorter one, maybe like 30, 40 minutes, something like that. Certainly was not. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back, obviously, in 2 weeks for another episode of RT Talk, talking about who knows what else. Hopefully, I won't be feeling as impacted by the news at that point. But now, obviously, we'll have Out in the Grapes every Wednesday, and that's it. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, being stand-in Doug.
I try and be as good as Doug, but I know I'm not, so I apologize to everybody.
Well, if you listen to that one guy who has apparently watched all of our videos, Doug is the worst. Because that guy hates Doug. He goes after Doug every single time he leaves his shitty comments. But thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da.